Hello, this is Lisa LeRose on Connect to Love here on PRN-FM, and I'm joined by the amazing and wonderful Michael J. Russ. Hello, Michael. Welcome.
How you doing?
Ditto
right back
great.
At you with the amazing.
Yeah.
Right back at you.
So
girl.
amazing.
Right back at you.
You know, you last week you inspired me, and I have been practicing lots of what we call Ho'oponopono. So we can't wait to get started because we have so many things to talk about with this Hawaiian technique of forgiveness. There's just so much that it can do, and it's I'm just really excited. So for those of our audience members that are not familiar with Ho'oponopono, it's a powerful spiritual healing technique that comes from Hawaii. It was an ancient technique of forgiveness and a self-healing practice. It was sort of rediscovered and reinvented as self-identity Ho'oponopono by a Hawaiian kahuna named Morna, and then brought more into light by Dr. Len Ilihakala Hugh Lin. So we'll call him Dr. Hugh Lin because it's a lot easier. But he became famous because he was a psychologist in a hospital for the criminally insane. And he did not see patients, he said, other than just to see them in the hallway. But he never went to staff meetings. He said that he recognized that when there was a problem, that it was something that he saw as an opportunity to heal within himself. And so that's exactly what he did. And as he did, the whole atmosphere of the hospital, where the prisoners had to be in shackles and restrained, they no longer had to be restrained. The staff, who were always on edge, relaxed. It became more of a family atmosphere, and little by little the patients got better until they got to the point where the unit was completely closed, which is really pretty miraculous. So, just in a nutshell, for anybody that has struggled with the concept of forgiveness, this beautiful Hawaiian technique called Ho'oponopono actually translates into, the word translates into causing things to move back in balance or to make things right. So pono means balance in the sense of like. So the fact that this word has a double pono, it's like make it right and make it really right, in my opinion. So, it sort of, becomes a mantra. And we're going to delve a little bit into how this forgiveness practice works and how Michael has incorporated in his life and also in mine. But it's a method of cleaning that you can literally not only heal yourself but others. But really, it's what Dr. Len said. It was about taking 100% responsibility for himself, and that when he did, he was able to allow others to heal. So the Ho'oponopono prayer is very simple. It begins with, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And that's it. So I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And it's very touching and very simple. And I would love to hear, Michael, about how you utilize this prayer and how it's changed your life.
Well, it's really quite interesting. Thank you so much. Your explanation is awesome. I have a sort of a different take, simply from a different person who kind of interpreted Ho'oponopono, which is that in terms of balance, Hawaiians say right. So basically, Ho'o is to make, and Pono is right, to make right. Mm-hmm. And same thing as balance. It's just a little bit different in terms of but the Pono balance, right twice means right with you and right with others that are close to you or around you, which I really like. And that might bring a little bit greater clarity to people about what this is. You're literally attempting to basically make yourself right and those close to you right, which is exactly what the doctor you were talking about actually did. It's interesting that you said that, because I'm simply to say this. When you said how he was able to shift the energy in the entire institution, what came to mind is how the frequencies of the institution were all fighting against each other. There were lower frequencies that are bouncing off all over the place, and by him actually getting himself doing this Ho'oponopono prayer himself, he was able to right the energy, to rebalance the energy in the entire building. I find that amazing, number one. Totally amazing that can be the case. And it alludes to this whole concept of we as individuals have the ability to change our outer world when we change our inner world. And this is a completely awesome example of that occurring to a degree that I don't think the average person would do that. Imagine a household is dysfunctional, everybody's out of balance, and one person decides to do Ho'oponopono, and how it might change the entire energy of a household. From that perspective. And then if you teach it to children, then all of a sudden, boom, I find that the uses of this absolutely amazing. For me, it's a concept of forgiveness. In my view, we are all carrying negative energy from past events and circumstances. Just things, ragtag edges of things we just haven't gotten rid of. It's kind of like you had a piece of paper you've thrown in the fire, but there's still a little bit left after the fire's out, right? Just still a little bit left that you can maybe read. And so you didn't get it all. You didn't burn the whole thing up. It's not all ash. There's still something left. And so we, years into the future, are carrying these things. They might be different levels of trauma that we've experienced in our lives. Maybe we haven't forgiven ourselves for a mistake that we've made. Maybe we, like me, I put a lot of money into a business, and that business didn't work out, and all that money was just gone, right? And I could sit around. I could sit around and say, okay, I got to start all over again, or I could lament about it, or blame somebody, or blame myself for it all happening. Except that's not me, and I decided to make the choice to literally exercise that out of me, to rebalance myself, to exercise that energy, to let it go, by understanding first that whatever choices I made, decisions I made at the time, can't go back and change them, no matter how much I want to try. And a lot of stress, a lot of angst, a lot of negative energy, residual energy is within us all from not forgiving ourselves or regretting decisions that we made in the past, relationship-wise, work-wise, financially, you name it, it's all there. So I've used this to clear out all of that, and to understand that every day is a new beginning. Every day is a new beginning. And in order for that to be a true new beginning, I have to face this day without any of the negative energy of past choices, consequences, whatever it is that in my life. And so that's how I use this, and it is so cool. If people can go online and look up different meditations for this, I found one today that was really brilliant. And it sometimes helps to be guided through the process a couple of times, and then you pick it up yourself and you start using it, and on a daily basis, just for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. It really shifts your own energy. It makes you feel different. It makes you feel like you've taken off that 1,000-pound backpack of all that stuff that you've been carrying around. It's beneath the surface. It's beneath the surface in your mind. You may be in a drawer back there somewhere, but even in the drawer, it's radiating that energy. It's radiating that low frequency energy, and that's what we really don't realize. And then we're triggered by something that is similar to that experience. We get triggered, and all of a sudden that drawer is open, that whole thing is out, and we're all of a sudden reacting. And nobody understands, not even us, why we're reacting the way that we're reacting. You know, you got let go, you got fired 25 years ago, and the circumstances behind the firing you haven't forgiven yourself for, and now you're in another situation. And in the real world, circumstances can be similar. Not exactly the same, but people can say things, people can do things. You can see things happening, see things unfolding, and you go, wait a minute, this is similar to something I've already, all of a sudden, boom, all those feelings come rushing back, all of the doubt or the anger, the frustration you had, the worry even, the fear of possibly losing your job because you did before, all that can come rushing back. It's all different. And what we really have to understand is that our thoughts and feelings create our reality in the present moment, in the moment of now. We're creating our reality on a consistent moment-to-moment basis based on what our thoughts and feelings are and our beliefs. And we have to be cognizant of that, because if we're not, we're going to be, if you've got a fear or a worry that you're carrying forward into this moment, it is going to manifest in your reality, not only through your feelings, your thoughts, your frequencies that you're going to attract are going to validate whatever that is. And I am always cognizant of this fact. And so it's how I keep myself sort of on balance. When I recognize something's a bit off, I will, first opportunity, sit down and clear it out. Clear it out. I am sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. It's a matter of connecting with yourself, putting your hand on your heart and basically saying this to yourself. You're saying it to yourself, not something outside of you. You're saying it to yourself, and it just helps to cleanse. And that's what I love about it. Beautiful.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really loved about Dr. Hugh Lin is what he said, that this phrase or this prayer was like the combination lock that opened up the universe to you, which I was like, oh my gosh,
I like that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so he said, so you open up yourself to divine cleaning, and that when you do, it erases all those programs that prevents you from being connected to your source. And it was interesting in his early connection with self-identity, Ho'oponopono, he had heard about this miracle worker, Morna, who was healing cancers and all sorts of things, and he's like, I have to meet her. And he's, he figure he's in a clinical setting. This is prior to his experience in this criminally insane ward. And he paid the money to go to her class, and he's like, oh my gosh, this woman is nuts. She's like, she thought she was totally insane, and he walked out of the class. And he's like, but something was pulling at him. And so he paid the money again, and he went to another class, and he's like, oh my gosh, she's like, how can this prayer be doing anything? And he left again. Then he paid a third time. He paid the money to go to the class, and he said it still drove him crazy, but he stayed and he healed, and it transformed him, and he ended up actually being with her until her last days of her life, which I found so fascinating and so amazing. But Morna was a pretty amazing individual. She said that most Westerners find it difficult to put their analytical thinking aside and get closer to their higher self, which I think was what was blocking Dr. Lin. And he said they pay
like
for it with their sense of, breakup and separation. And you instead, as you were saying, you find yourself in constant struggle with problems and adversities. And so when you don't allow that divine energy to flow through you, you keep yourself separate from happiness. So when you take 100% responsibility, and what I found so fascinating, like every stress, illness, or problem in a in a relationship that you might see, when you take 100% responsibility, that a lot of people have difficulty with that, saying, well, that guy's criminally insane. You didn't do anything. Why should you take responsibility? And what Dr. Lynn said was, it's related to the ancestors. It's all part of the field. So if we are truly one, by healing and doing my part, I can actually shift what's going on in the world. And then he went on to say that, when we agree to life, which I found so fascinating, he said that's one of the greatest secrets to happiness, not controlling life. You're not visualizing and affirming and trying to manipulate. Instead, go with the flow, which is sort of what you do. You find that every little bit that you do makes a difference. And I really love that connection. And one of the things, in the words in each part of that prayer, I'm sorry, when we apologize, and we ask for forgiveness, please forgive me. And then to say thank you, there's, gratitude in there. There's reverence.
Right.
There's the ability for transmutation. Things can actually transmute into something else. And those three words, and, this show is connect to love. I mean, there's nothing more, and to me, nothing more powerful in the world than love. And when you hold that space, it creates a sacred and very precious space. And I think for many of us, we get separated from that. And since we spoke last week, Michael, I've been practicing, Ho'oponopono, and I find myself, in a lot of situations where you have different frustrations. But as I was practicing, and I was really doing it without any intention. I kind of, made it into a song, and I was doing it, singing it to my dogs and going through my day. But what was so miraculous, and it was two different instances where I have been waiting for months and months and months for some funds to be released and wasn't really thinking about them. And I got a text message and an email like, guess what? Within the next 2 days, these funds will be transferred to your bank account. I was like, wow, that wasn't even what I was working on. I was like, okay, well, I'll heal with myself and, see what a difference it is in my dogs and whatnot. I was, working on myself and the programs and really for myself. And those are sort of some unexpected benefits. Have you seen similar things as you practice Ho'oponopono?
Yeah, my life is one of, in my business, I make, I'm not gonna, how I can say this, I'm in sales, and everything I do is 100% commission. In order to make a living, I have to help someone get exactly what they want. And I don't focus on me, I focus on them. And so I don't know what's going to happen month to month for me. And it's been this way for 38 years. So you can imagine how someone in this position in my position could develop fears or doubts or worries about our frustrations, come up with all kinds of maddening scenarios about what may or may not happen in the next 30 days. I have bills just like anybody else. Like I've had 3 homes, mortgages and all this other kind of stuff, mortgages, car payments at one point in time, all this kind of stuff. And if I want to go on vacation, if I want to leave town for a week or 2 or 2 weeks or whatever it is, I'm not making anything during that time frame. I have to have a free mind to go do whatever. So it used to be in the first 5 years it was a very high pressure situation until I learned to balance it, to manage it, till I learned the secret, which is that I created the reality for myself. I created the reality, and I was creating a reality in the first 5 years that I really didn't want. So I had to turn around and shift and change that reality. But today, I've noticed I write down intentions and goals that I have for the coming months, and I practice Ho'oponopono to alleviate any negative energy that I might be harboring, fears, worries that might be in subsurface about that, and it allows me to relax and be in balance, and then just take what comes. And believe it or not, every month works out, and every month has worked out for decades. And so it's you received that particular check. I've received wonderful gifts in the past 30 years financially. It really is wonderful in a relationship context. It helps me bring balance to the relationship. What's interesting is that I live with somebody who doesn't really embrace it, but is very empathic. So the way I balance myself through Ho'oponopono and other meditations that I do, it really helps the relationship stay balanced. I can tell in a minute when I'm out of sorts and I'm around her. She immediately reacts and responds to it without even knowing why she's doing it. And so I when it comes to being in my relationships, so to speak, family or otherwise, it's incredibly beneficial, and I find that's something that's one of the blessings of this particular practice of Ho'oponopono. It's beautiful. It's so simple. It's so simple. I mean. And if you're sitting down with your eyes closed, you've breathed deeply 4, 5, 6 times, you've relaxed yourself, and you've connected with yourself, and you sincerely say these words to yourself. And then you do the most important thing, which is release your attachment from the consequences of what you're doing. You release your attachment from something having to happen, right? It's not about forcing something to occur. It's about releasing the negative energy and allowing the flow of your energy to impact the world around you, and a form of alchemy, so to speak. And I love it. That simplicity of it is likely the reason why it works so well. And I dated a Hawaiian girl for 2.5 years. I can tell you, whose father's mother was a kahuna, in fact. And I know that the Hawaiians never did anything without a purpose. Most indigenous peoples don't. There's a whole, and like you said earlier, you just have to get your rational mind out of the way. That empirical evidence mind that you have. Get that out of the way and simply accept. I find it's interesting that Dr. Hewlin had to go back 3 times. It makes me, when you said that, when you said that, it made me think, wow, his soul was supposed to be with this woman. Their souls were supposed to be connected, and he kept fighting it with his empirical mind. He kept fighting it. And I'm sure he discovered a whole different world, unique world, when he finally stopped fighting and started going with the flow. And I find that really, really cool. Morna. Hewlin and Morna. Wow, what a combination.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, Michael, because there's things that go on with us consciously, but there are programs that we have that go on unconsciously. And, when we actually realize that we are, perfect in divine creation, and that everyone in everything is perfect, just as they are. And that's what I really love about this. He kept saying, no, it's not about, you're not doing this for somebody. You're doing this for yourself. You're not, so what he would do when he would teach a class, he would go to the room, and he would feel the energy in the room. And, if the room was not happy, he would clean himself. And he would say, why is this room not happy? And he would prepare the space. If he was teaching a class, everybody he would get a list, and he would clean himself on everybody without even meeting them. Preparing himself. And he said, one of the things that was the hardest, and he said he made himself a deal that he would have the biggest hot fudge sundae ever if he could get through a day without judging anybody. And he said to this day, he has still not had that hot fudge sundae. And you think to yourself, wow, here are all of these different things, but he really sees it as his part in the process of creation. And so, he talked about what is imperfect, and he said, imperfect is our memories, our reactions, they're the irritations, the judgments, resentments, the angers, all of those things, and we've all been there. There's not one of us that's alive today that hasn't experienced, whether it be an irritation in traffic or, standing in line and, somebody's fishing for change and, you're in a hurry. I mean, all of those things. And so when you find yourself in that place, that's the perfect time to practice Ho'oponopono and understand that in that moment that there is a reason. As you said, there was a reason that he was connected to Morna, and that he stayed with her for the rest of his life, and it becomes that recognition of forgiveness, forgiveness, and recognizing, again, taking 100% responsibility and clean, and that's what and he would say, like, if there's an issue, clean. And I don't think he's ever felt to be the place where he is, completely clean. And as you said, we all meet people along the path, and you meet them where they are. Not everybody is ready for this. I had somebody that I was trying to have a conversation, and they said, I just couldn't do that. And I thought, okay, that's all right. That's where they are. I've planted a seed, and all I can do for myself is clean on it. I have, it's like having, a box filled with, $1 million, and you just want to give it to somebody, and it's like, no, I don't want that. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll find somebody else that's open to it. And in the meantime, I'm going to give that gift to myself, which is to me, really, really valuable. And it's
powerful. Giving it to yourself first. You are giving it to yourself first. And it's really interesting because we've talked about frequency. I'm, I guess, right about now, passionately obsessed with the concept of frequencies and how to keep our frequencies elevated and how to mitigate the circumstances that impact our frequencies in a negative way, that we allow these circumstances to impact our frequencies in a negative way. And the simplicity of this in the way that the power it has to shift you and thereby shifting the energies outside of you is brilliant. Let's just say that. It makes, when I first heard about it, I couldn't wait to use it. And again, a big part of this is releasing your attachment to what happens as a result. Right. That is a really big part of it, because we can, through our own desires to force something to occur, within the context of a relationship at work, or with the people around you in a team, or at home, or with your family. You really want to make something happen. You have to sincerely do it for yourself. Clean you. And by cleaning you, you're cleaning other people, pono, right? Ourselves and others, and in a way that is just automatic. Simple as it's not complicated, and it's just, you're right about people being ready and not being ready. Some people are, and some people are not. And those who are ready to step outside of their of the box that they live in, and remove a few walls of that box and open themselves up to whatever else is out there, and letting it in and shifting and changing their own thought process, so will change not only themselves, but they'll change everything outside of them. And I think this is important. In this day and age, I spend a lot of time thinking about the stuff that's going on in the world.
100%.
Climate, this and that. You're like, wow, is the planet mad at us or what? The energies of the planet are just messed up. There's a lot of greed. There's a lot of judgment, as you mentioned in the beginning of this podcast. There's a lot of judgment going through. It takes work to not judge. I'm going to come out and say it. It takes work to not judge, because we've been taught to kind of judge everything, right?
Oh,
I mean, I'm sitting there, it's easy. It's like this panacea of, just don't judge. Really? I mean, I have to catch myself when I'm judging. You have to all the time. You're judging something. You're judging this person as being bad, that person being good. This person here is that. And you have to wait. You have to back up and say, what the heck am I doing? We're judging everything. Something is beautiful. Something is not beautiful. Something large, something small, something. It's just, that's what we do as human beings, and we have to do the complete opposite, which is not. It's right. We take on a lot. We take on a lot when we judge. Basically in my view, what we do is we spend a lot of emotional capital on things that don't really have any relevance in our lives. That judgment is one of those things that we waste emotional capital on. We waste our time, our energy, we waste our frequency on it. We invest in something that has no real positive, relevant return for us. And that's to me, that's what judgment does, and that's the way I convey it to people. Start looking at it as Ho'oponopono is an investment in you. It's a positive investment in you, clearing and balancing you, cleaning you, and cleaning, in consequence, the world around you. You don't know who it's going to impact, and it's not up to you. It's you got to let go of that. It's not up to you who it impacts or how it impacts the world. You're just putting it out there. And here's the interesting thing. I had this thought. I was waking up this morning. I don't know, it was about 4:30 in the morning. The cat had just walked across me, and I woke up. And I had this thought about, wow, what would happen if we had this huge Ho'oponopono? You had a lot of people online. Everybody at the same time decided to do this Ho'oponopono. Just is like, how would that impact the world that we live in? That's an interesting thought, actually. That if a lot of people did it at the same time, we had this Guinness World Record Ho'oponopono.
Wow.
And I'm thinking,
I wish you could see my arms, because I've got my hair on my arms just standing up. It would be amazing. It would be amazing.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I think of in the middle. When I'm not able to sleep, when I wake up and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm looking at the insides of my eyelids. I'm just relaxed. I'm just comfortable. What's going to come to mind? And I'm thinking, oh, this. Okay, that is really, really unique. And I don't know if anybody's actually tried that yet.
You're not too far. Yeah, you're not too far off, because Morna was considered. I think in 1983 they made her a living treasure in Hawaii, and one of the things, and this is a quote by her. She said, "If we can accept that we are the sum total of all past thoughts, emotions, words, deeds, and actions, and that our present lives and choices are colored or shaded by this memory bank of the past, then we begin to see how a process of correcting or setting things aright can change our lives, our family, and our society. And so she went, it was so fascinating, she actually went and traveled to Poland, and she traveled to Germany when there was still an East and West Germany. And she taught in Warsaw, and then 4 weeks later, there was the group of people that were there. That's when the Berlin Wall fell. And so did they have an impact? I don't think that she would have, she was a pretty humble person. You think about the symbolism and the energy of that, and, how many people that she touched when, she visited Poland, and she felt that it was really an important thing. And then, so that was 1989, I think, when the Berlin Wall fell, and she passed away. 3 years later. She was actually in Germany, and she announced that her task on Earth had been completed, and she went to bed, and she transitioned. And I mean, to me, that is just pretty profound. I guess she had gotten to the point where she had passed the torch on, and it could work to make a difference in the world. And I do believe that, as you're saying, if each one of us were to take 100% responsibility and forgive our past and forgive the ancestors and whatnot, and then just come from a place of love, I do believe that we can transform anything, truly.
So true. It's interesting. You said 100% responsibility. I think this is probably about the second or third time in this show, and it makes me think about somebody who taught me how important that was, the value of taking 100% responsibility in your life. A gentleman by the name of Charles Gibbons. He was a best-selling author, multi-millionaire businessman in Florida, in Orlando, and what an amazing human being this gentleman was. And when he shared this, he said one of his keys to success was taking 100% responsibility in his life for everything that happened. He was the kind of guy. I mean, he had gotten divorced from his first wife, married his second wife, and his first wife and his second wife became good friends. They were all over for dinner every Sunday night. He says, look, I took responsibility for my first relationship. I said so, and I mended that relationship in a way. I wasn't able to save it, but I mended it in a way that we could positively go forward and everybody could be happy. And aww. I said to myself, yeah, it takes something very special to be able to admit, and this is the issue I think with many people in this world. We're not taught at an early age to really take responsibility for everything we do, and the consequences of our choices really is what it is. We make a choice, we go do something, and there's ancillary consequences that occur, and it's like, it's not my fault. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Well, were you there? Yeah, right. But it wasn't me. You made the decision to actually go there. You made the decision as to time you went there. And what he taught me was 100% responsibility is taking responsibility for every choice you made that led up to where you ended up, to what happened. You decided if you got into, he said, listen, if you got into a car accident, why would you, if someone hit you on a freeway or wherever, they rear-ended you, why would you get out of the car and blame them for what it is that happened? Yeah, it happened. Yes, they did it. However, if you don't take responsibility for why you were there, when you left the house, the car you decided to buy that was there that got hit. I mean, literally, it just goes back farther and farther and farther. There are many choices.
Right.
Dozens of choices that led to you being where you are. And you have to literally not only accept responsibility for that, but you also have to forgive yourself for those choices. Very, very, very important. You must forgive yourself for the choices. And that's the most important thing. And I do that. I literally, I don't know, I've probably told the story before. I'll give you 2 seconds of it. I've been rear-ended in my sports car twice. And both times I just literally said, the first time, gentleman didn't have insurance. It was $8,500 worth of damage, right?
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm without a car for a while. And I had a $1,000 deductible, and I asked him to pay the deductible. He didn't have insurance. He had insurance. It expired 30 days before he ran into me.
Oh,
His
my
insurance
goodness.
company says he doesn't have it. So I politely asked him to cover it, and I'm the kind of person that is like, you know what? I will ask. I'm not going to get upset about this. I'm not going to make myself out to be a victim of this circumstance. I called my insurance company, and I said, this gentleman did this. I need to get my car fixed. They said, okay, fine, $1,000 deductible. And I said, and he ended up not paying it because he didn't feel it was his, he didn't want to do it. And I wasn't going to take it to small claims court because that involved a lot of other negative energy and choices on my part that I just don't like to do that. I'm not going there. I said, I'm not going to let this particular gentleman control my thoughts and feelings. He's not taking my sovereignty away from me. I'm not a victim. I'm just somebody who's had something happen. It's got to be fixed. So I literally took care of it. I said, I'll do this, and the car was fixed. Second time, the person ran into me. It was about a 5-mile-an-hour rear-ender. Still ended up being like $3,000 worth of damage. But
wow.
when it occurred, the moment it occurred, I could see it. I could see it in my rearview mirror. She wasn't really paying attention. I had nowhere to go, though, because it was in a traffic jam situation. I couldn't make a left and leave the roadway. And when it occurred, I got out of my car, and she got out of her car. She had a kid in the back that was about I'd say somewhere around 9-10 years of age, and it was her husband's work truck. So it was a company truck, company vehicle, right? And she got out all hysterical, and I said, "Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. No reason for all this. It's just a little accident. Do you have insurance? Do you know who I need to contact? Let me get that information from you." And she gave me the card, gave me her number, and this and that, and I said, and I was incredibly calm. I said, "Look, it's happened before. It's not going to be the last time, likely. It's just stuff that happens. You have a vehicle, you have a possibility of getting in an accident." And I said, "Let's just pull over to the side. I'll call the police, and we'll get a little police report because I need to do that." And I got all that taken care of. And she comes up to me after the police officer, while he's taking the report, and she says, "Why are you so calm?" And I said, "I'm so calm because this is it's just business. It's just something that happens. It's not. Please don't. You had a moment of a fractured moment in thought, and this occurred. Don't beat yourself up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully your husband forgives you for this because your insurance company is going to get hit." And so, literally, one thing led to another. I got my car fixed, and when I got fixed, I called her. I had her number, and she said, "Hey," I said, "Hello." I said, "Listen, I just wanted to see how you're doing. Make sure you're okay. Hope your husband didn't, get down on you too much." She said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You're calling me to ask find out how I'm doing?" And I said, "Yeah," because I could see, that her husband might be a little upset. She had and by the way, the other reason why I didn't want to I was very cognizant of the fact that there was another soul. Her son was sitting in the back seat, and I had told her at the time. I said, "Is that your son?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "You want to make sure that you stay calm here. Let's help him understand that there's a different way that this can be handled. But I'm not going to turn around and yell at you. That's ridiculous, especially in front of your son. That's even if he wasn't there, I still wouldn't do it. But let's be an example, a positive example for how this can be handled, and you can move on with your day. And fine, the truck wasn't really damaged, but my car was. And so, I got a rental car, I got this other stuff, I got it all fixed all the way through the end result. And I knew that would happen. It's just the process that occurs.
Right.
But the moral of the story is that I didn't want to judge her. She was a wonderful human being, I'm sure. I got a sense that she was very sorry and remorseful for what happened, and I didn't want to make her feel bad about it. I don't see the need for that to make her feel bad and to try to put her down in some way. It just doesn't make any sense. Why not lift her up? Why not lift her up and make her feel better about what had happened? Yeah. So that's what Charles Givens taught me, is to, and I accept the responsibility for having bought the car and where I was. That's an automatic for me. It's not something that I have to actually technically do anymore. It's an automatic. Right. I'm the one who decided to be there at that particular time in traffic, so it's really not all your fault. I could have been somewhere else. I could have decided not to be there.
Yes, that's true. And I think you bring up a good point, Michael, is that you can do Ho'oponopono anywhere. You can do it in a situation where there's an accident. You can do it when you wake up in the morning. You can do it while you're brushing your teeth. It can be said out loud. It can be said to yourself over and over again, which is sometimes, what I do. And I would like to admit that sometimes I mix up the words, and I go, I get frustrated with myself, and I go,
really?
Wait.
Let me write that down.
Thank you. I love you. So, and so I'll just say, please forgive me. I'm sorry. Because sometimes that seems like it's a little bit better to me, like forgive me first. Not, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And, and one of the things that I liked that Dr. Lynn said is he said sometimes you can use things that become symbols. So for him, you would put an eraser on the table, and, every time that he would walk by, it was a reminder. He'd touch that eraser, and, he would just say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And it was a symbolic cleansing tool of erasing memories and performing that cleaning process, and
That's
so
right.
you speak it out loud, or, so if you have an eraser, and sometimes I think we need that little bit, so there's all kinds of, it's like back to school time, so there's all kinds of cute little erasers, right?
I guess that's true, but I don't think you're aware of the fact that technically when you mix up the words, something different happens.
Oh, what? Tell me, please.
It's like, I'm just messing with you. It's like a spell. Oh, wait a minute, you didn't say it the right way, so you totally, totally mixed it all up, right?
I'm taking 100% responsibility for my imperfections.
Right. We're talking about a kahuna here, okay? So when we're talking about kahuna, we're talking about magic. We're talking about words that are they're magical, and you have to get them. And what came to mind when you said that is that let's not overthink this. Write it down on a piece of paper if you have to. However, don't overthink it. Just, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, I thank you. That's it. Okay? So if our listeners can simply get a piece of paper and write it down, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, I thank you. The magic is in saying the words with sincerity. That's it. That's all there is to it. We don't have to go through a magical process of sitting down and doing a whole meditation. If you don't meditate, if that's not part of your life regimen, you can still use Ho'oponopono to clear out, to clean house.
Right.
Clean your mind, clean your past.
Yeah, and you can't remember any of it. Just say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you. Right? I love you.
Okay, semi-right. Come on. It wouldn't be Ho'oponopono if you didn't actually make it right. You make it different, make it light. I don't know what happens if you don't say it the way you're supposed to. It's just funny that you said that. I don't know. I kind of mess the words up sometimes, And think about this movie. Oh my God, I think about this movie, The Army of Darkness. Have you ever seen that?
No,
Army of
I have
Darkness.
not.
You ever seen it? It's a comedy. It's a comedy with Bruce Campbell, and he goes back in time. I'm going to keep this really simple and short. It's an awesome movie. He's thrust back in time to medieval times, from present to medieval times, and he has to subdue the army of darkness. And in order to do so, he's the chosen one, and he has to go to this special rock in the middle of some very dangerous, deep, dark forest where the devils and witches live, whatever, the dead live, and he has to go up and get this book. And when he gets the book, he has to say these specific words in the specific way. And if he doesn't do it, then the army of darkness isn't subdued. And the army of darkness actually comes and takes over the world, and everything becomes black and dark. And that's what I thought about when you said, "Oh, I don't always get the words right." Sometimes I'm going, "No, you got to get the words right. You got." Because if not, you don't know what the heck's going to happen. It's a great movie, and he doesn't take the words seriously, and he does mess them up. But he thinks he takes the book and says, "Oh, that's good enough," and it doesn't turn out well until he actually does say the words the right way down the line after all this madness has occurred. So we never understand. I don't know. I take it upon. The ancient Hawaiians chose these words for a reason. Their particular what's the word I'm looking for? Their particular not cadence, but the way the words are laid out particularly. But it's simple enough. It's not complicated.
I'm sorry. Please
we don't
forgive
need
me. Thank you. I love you. Yep. Yep. I'm sorry.
No. I love you. I thank you. It's funny.
I thank
you. The second time you said that. I love you. I thank you. I love you. No. It's I love you. I thank you, because you're thanking you. So anyway, don't worry about it. I think it's funny. To our listeners, I'm just having a joke here. It's fun.
Yeah, no, but I'm so grateful for each one of you and for joining us here on TRN FM on Connect to Love. And as our time, it seems to fly by, and I'm going to let Michael, because he gets the words right, and I'll give turn it over to you to close the show.
Let me just simply say this. The beauty of what we do here is that, again, it's all unscripted, and we love it. It's our opportunity to connect with you, our listeners, and we hope that you're taking you're finding the treasure in what we convey every week to enrich your life beyond measure. That really is our goal. Maybe not everything that we say is going to resonate at this time in your life with you. However, we hope that it sticks with you, and that there's an awareness of it that can at some particular point ignite within you this spark that will help change your life and the lives of those around you, and as a result, the world around you as well. We appreciate it. If you want to get a copy of the show, Connect to Love, the podcast, is where you find it. Okay? And thank you so much. Many blessings.
Thank you so much. Many blessings as well.